Good evening, everyone. How are you, my dear students? I hope that you are all doing great. It's time now to move to our fourth lecture, week 32 in semester 3. In this lecture, we're going to cover suffixes, so you will be able to read and spell words with suffixes. You will use simile and metaphor to deduce new words' meanings. You will identify genre poetry and haiku. You will determine the rhyme scheme of a poem and you will identify the author's point of view. For this lecture, you can refer to Phonics Practice Book, pages 55 to 59, and the Reading Writing Workshop, pages 150 to 153. First of all, in our lecture, we're going to cover the phonics. Then we're going to move to the vocabulary words: brittle, creative, outstretched, and descriptive. After that, we're going to move to our poetry, pages 150 to 153 in your reading writing workshop. And at the end, we're going to cover several short skills like the genre, the author's point of view, meter and rhyme, simile, and metaphor. First of all, let's start with the phonics. What do we mean by a suffix? A suffix is a letter or a group of letters added at the end of the word, which makes a new word. So you have a main word, let's say, for example, and you add at the end of this word letter or group of letters. So we add a group of letters, not a new word, we add a group of letters, which will make a new word after we add these letters. Like what? Let's see. Let's take these words, the spelling list. For example, in the first group, I'm going to add ly suffix at the end. Sickly. So sick, I add ly to it, so it becomes sickly. Okay, when something is sick or makes you sick. Hardly. Hardly, the main word is hard. I added ly, so it becomes hardly. It's hard to do something. Okay, quickly also comes from quickly. Slow, slowly. Carefully. Okay, the second, the suffix, the ful. Wonderful. Wonderful, something amazing. Beautiful. Graceful. When you want to describe something as stylish, you can say graceful. Spoonful. When something as much as a spoon can hold, we say that it's a spoonful. Thoughtful. Thoughtful. Okay, it's full of thoughts. Or you give consideration to something, so you are thoughtful. Ness, ness, the suffix ness. For example, darkness. When I want to talk about dark, I say darkness. Illness, for example, from ill, when something is sick or makes you sick, so we say it's illness. Goodness, good. Weakness comes from weak. Okay, the third suffix is less. When we use less, let's see what we have. Shapeless. Shapeless, with no shape, we mean. Ageless, that it doesn't show its age, okay, or it's young. So we can describe it as ageless. Spotless, without spots. Painless, with no pain. The last suffix is the est. We add it to words that describe, and when we want to show that they have reached the highest degree of description, like darkest, clearest. Okay, this exercise is found in your practice book, page 58. You can resort to your practice book to solve this exercise. Write the spelling word that best completes each sentence. Let's see the words I have: carefully, spoonful, wonderful, goodness, painless, darkest, beautiful, clearest, slowly, and ageless. Number one, the road was where there were no street lights. So the road was darkest where there were no street lights. Since there was no light, so it was dark. So the road was darkest. The student, blah, 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 checked her test answers. So we use darkest. What could we use here? The student carefully checked her test answers. What do you do at the end of the test? You check carefully your answers, okay? with great attention. You check your answers with great attention. Number 3, I had a time at the lake and would like to go back. I had a wonderful time at the lake. Number 4, my grandmother looks so young that people say she is. Since she looks so young, so she is ageless. Number 5, I took a of medicine and felt better. I took a spoonful of medicine. The car moved so that I thought we'd never get there. So if we think that we'd never get there, so the car moved so slowly. The scrape on my knee was and healed quickly, was painless, with no pain. Number 8, the model was known for her pretty face. Since she's pretty, she has a pretty face, then the model is beautiful. 9, she gave me this for free out of the goodness of her heart. Since she's very good, so she gave it to me out of her goodness. And number 10, the sky had no clouds and was the clearest I had ever seen it. Second part in the same page, exercise B, page 58. Write the spelling word that matches each definition below. Now the words sickly, illness, weakness, hardly, darkness, quickly, shapeless, spotless, graceful, and thoughtful. Number 11, lack of light. When something lacks light, then it is darkness. Perfectly clean. When something is perfectly clean, we say that there are no spots on it, so it's spotless. 13, lack of strength. When something doesn't have strength, we say it is weak. So lack of strength, we mean weakness. 14, sickness. When you feel sick, okay, you feel ill. So sickness is illness. Number 15, barely, hardly. You could barely reach the finish line. For example, you hardly reach the finish line. 16, not healthy. Something not healthy, sickly. Yes, it causes sickness. 17, elegant in form. When something is elegant in form or in what she or he wears, or stylish, we say graceful. 18, kind and considerate. When someone is kind and considerate, we say thoughtful. 19, without form. There is no form, there is no shape. We mean shapeless. And the last one, in a very fast way, quickly. Okay? I hope that the phonics lesson is clear now, and it's very easy. Don't worry. Let's move. Now, let's start with the vocabulary words. Our vocabulary words are brittle, creative, descriptive, and outstretched. The first word,
Brittle.
brittle.
If something is
If
brittle,
something
it
is
means it is
brittle, it
easily
is easily
broken.
broken. You can break it easily with one touch, for example. Example, the brittle dry leaf fell apart when I closed my hand around it. So if you have a dry leaf in your hand and you close your hand on it, it will break. So it is brittle. We say it's brittle because it can easily be broken. Creative. Creative people show the ability to do something in a new way. When you do something in a very new way that has not been done in the same way before, we say it's a creative way. Okay, so you are creative. Example, the florist made original and creative flower arrangements. She arranged the flowers in a creative way, in a way that no one had ever done before. Descriptive things describe or tell about something. So when you want to tell about something or someone, you describe him or her or it. So you give descriptive details. Descriptive. The speaker gave a vivid descriptive talk about the rainforest. So when he was talking about the rainforest, he gave a very detailed description. So he gave a descriptive talk.
Outstretched.
Outstretched.
Outstretched
Outstretched
means
means
extended to
extended
full
to full
length.
length. When you extend something to the full length, so we say it's outstretched. The seagull glided through the air on outstretched wings. So the seagull, in order to fly over the ocean or over the beach, so it outstretched its wings. Now let's practice our vocabulary words a little bit. Fill in the blanks for each vocabulary and concept word. What might happen if you drop something brittle? If there's something brittle and you drop it on the floor, what would happen to it? It will break. Two, when would it not be easy to have outstretched legs? When? What could happen to you and you could not have outstretched legs? In a crowded place, for example, if there are a lot of people beside you, then you will not be able to outstretch your legs. Three, where would you find a creative piece of art? Where do we find creative pieces of art? In the museum. What is a descriptive word about the waves? How could you describe the waves? Give a descriptive word. Crashing. Yes, they are crashing. Okay, now it's time to start with our poetry. First of all, let's learn some poetry terms. Metaphor. Example, the garbage truck is a monster. This sentence is called a metaphor. Why? Because it compares two unlike things. Two different things are compared together, then we are giving a metaphor. Simile, the long grass is like hair, is a simile. Why? Because it compares two things using like or as. So when you compare two things or two people or whatever using like or as, then we call it a simile. Rhyme. Two words rhyme when they sound the same, when they have the same sounds, especially at the end, then we call the words that are rhyming, like claw and draw. Meter is the pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables. Some parts of the words, if we have a pattern of stressed, then we have a meter. If we have a pattern of unstressed syllables, then also we have a meter. Dog. A brown boomerang. My dog flies off, arcs his way back into my arms. This is the first poetry. The second poetry. The eagle. He clasps the crag with crooked hands, close to the sun in lonely lands. Ringed with the azure world he stands. The wrinkled sea beneath him crawls. He watches from his mountain walls, and like a thunderbolt he falls. To clasp something means to grab it or hold it tightly. A crag is a steep, rugged rock or cliff. Here in these two poems or poetries, we're talking about two different dogs and how they act toward nature. First of all, we're talking about the dog and how it flies and turns like a boomerang. Then it falls into the arms of the poetry. The eagle, the eagle flies. The eagle flies above the blue sea, under the blue sky. Okay, and he goes down like a thunderbolt. To mean he goes down very, very fast. Why? In order to catch the fish. If you notice in the picture that the eagle is catching the fish with his legs, with his claws. Chimpanzee. From branch to branch on outstretched arms, from tree to ground I leap. When I want to eat a snack, I stick a stick in termite heaps. I use my teeth to rip off leaves and make the branch all bare, then find the hole the bugs come out and patiently wait there. My skinny branch becomes a bridge as brittle bugs climb up the stick. I pick them off one by one and crunch them like potato chips. Okay, let's talk a little bit here about how we write the poems. If you notice that as if we have three paragraphs, but here we do not call them paragraphs, we call them stanzas. So we have here three stanzas in this poem. Okay, we have stanza 1, stanza 2, and stanza 3. In every stanza, you might find rhyming words. For example, here, From branch to branch on outstretched arms. From tree to ground I leap. When I want to eat a snack, I stick a stick in termite heaps. Leap, heap. Okay? And in the second stanza, I use my teeth to trip off leaves and make the branch all bare. Then find the hole the bugs come out and patiently wait there. The rhyming words here are bear and there, for example, because they make the same sound. The last poetry, rat. Teeth like jackhammers. I chew through concrete for fun. Bring the outdoors in. Here, we're talking about how the animal, the rat especially, eats its food, and the chimpanzee also has its own creative way in order to eat its food. Now let's move to the final skills in our lecture. First of all, the genre. Our genre here this time is lyric poetry and haiku. Lyric poetry expresses the thoughts and feelings of the poet. So we have a person who writes a poem, we call him a poet, and he wants to express his thoughts and feelings, so he writes a poem. Often, the poetry often has end rhymes and a consistent meter, okay? Like stressed and unstressed words, syllables. Rhymes, words that have the same sounds. Haiku uses three short lines to describe a scene or a moment, like the dog and like the rat. We use like just three short lines in order to describe how the rat eats its food or how the dog acts at the beach. Also, the haiku has a first and last line of 5 syllables and a second line of 7 syllables. Okay, so in the haiku, we find in the first and last line 5 syllables, but in the second one, we find 7 syllables. Also, point of view. What do we mean by point of view? The voice that you hear in a poem is the speaker. Okay, the speaker's point of view is how the speaker thinks or feels. We said that the poem is written by a person who is the poet who expresses his feelings and thoughts. Okay, so he is the speaker. So what he says or what he thinks or feels, we call it the speaker's point of view. Pay attention that sometimes the speaker might be a character in the poem, but sometimes the speaker could be just telling about the characters or events in the poem. Read the selection, complete the point of view graphic organizers. Let's read these details about the chimpanzee. When I want to eat a snack, I stick a stick in termite heaps. The second one, I use my teeth to rip off leaves. The third one, I pick them off one by one. What do these show about the chimpanzee? What do they show us, these details? They show us that the chimpanzee is confident about finding food and he is creative in the way that he catches the termites in order to eat them. The last skills are the meter and rhyme. First, meter is the rhythm of syllables in a line of poetry. It is created by the arrangement of accented and unaccented syllables. We mean stressed and unstressed syllables. The words rhyme when their endings sound the same. So when we say we have rhyming words, we mean that the endings have the same sounds. Okay? The figurative language are the simile and metaphor. We talked about them at the beginning. The simile is the comparison made using like or as. For example, straight as an arrow. And a metaphor is a comparison made without like or as. We compare two different things, but without using the word like or as. For example, the grass was a green carpet. Let's practice a little bit. Read the lines of the lyric poem below, then answer the question. Dear. Then they dart away, their tails held high. 6 white arrows point at the sky. We don't even get to say goodbye. Into the night they disappear, and though they move as quick as spears, a little later they'll be back here. Notice something here that in the first stanza, all the three lines have the same rhymes, high, sky, by. And if you notice that we put A because they have the same sounds. In the second stanza, into the night they disappear, spears, and here they make three rhyming sounds, so B, we said because they have the same sounds. First question says, find two examples of rhyme in the poem, write them below. Let's find two examples of rhymes. Like what? Held high at the sky, or if you want to say at the sky, say goodbye. That's right. Down we have disappear, spears or spears, and here Okay, they disappear quick as spears. So these are two examples of rhyming words. Two, what kind of meter appears in the poem? What do we have here? Stressed or unstressed syllables? We have the rhythm always ends on an unaccented syllable. We mean unstressed syllables because we are not stressing on them. High, sky, by, appear, spears here. So they are accented syllables, stressed syllables. Okay, so when you stress on them, they are called accented. When you do not stress on them, you mean they are unaccented. Three, what is the rhyme scheme of this poem? Okay, when we say rhyme scheme, we mean that. Do we have different line, so like for example here, do we have in the first line a sound at the end different from the second line? No, here we have the three lines the same, then the rest of the three lines have the same sound. So here the rhyming scheme is, let's say, for example, A, B, B, B. But in case we had, for example, A up, then a different rhyme in the second line, like for example, let's say B, then A, then B, then we mean A, B, A, B. Read the passage, underline the simile or metaphor in the sentence, then write the two things that are being compared on the line. We see them sitting under trees at night in my yard like a photo of a family. Okay, what do we have here? Here we have a simile, which is like a photo of family. Why is it simile? Because we used like. Now, what are we comparing? We're comparing them, we see them, the deer, okay, sitting, and a family photo. We see them sitting under the trees, and while seeing them, we compare them to a photo of a family. Two, then they dart away, their tails held high, six white arrows point at the sky. Okay, so here, what do we have? We have a metaphor because we didn't use like or as, we compared the deer tails and the arrows. Okay, and the third one, into the night they disappear, and though they move as quick as spears, a little later they'll be back here. Definitely you're going to say simile because we have as quick as spears. And here we are comparing the deer, how they run, how they disappear, and they are compared to the flying spears. So guys, we have reached the end of our lecture. Thank you for listening. If you still have any questions, we're going to discuss them together during the live sessions. Bye bye.